know who you are and you've defined that. You can validate yourself by knowing this is who I am. This is what I value. This is what people can expect from me. This is my brand. Take it or leave it, sunshine. This is me.
Great businesses don't spring up out of nowhere. Building a business involves overcoming challenges, experiencing failures, large and small, and putting in the work, day in and day out. Welcome to Season 3 of the Building Bellingham podcast. I'm your host, Leo Cohen. Thank you for joining me as we dive into the story behind one of Bellingham's biggest brands. As a business owner and a podcaster, one of the things that I found with this interview that was incredibly inspiring was that we had a lot in common with the way that we do business, how we treat people, how we remove the negativity by defining what it is that we want and what we don't want. This whole concept of horse blinders, know yourself, know your vision, but ultimately welcome the right people into your world. The people that step into your world boldly, take control of the things that you're not good at, and inspire you to focus on the things that you are good at. Today I get to sit down with the branding queen of Bellingham. She's an author, she's a bundle of energy, and she's a whole lot of fun. We jump into why being yourself is paramount. It's the most important thing. We dissect the word authenticity and jump into what it really truly means to be you and why that's important to convey to your customer, to your community, to your friends, to your family, and everybody around you.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
National Public Radio, thanks for joining us today.
I'm very excited and thrilled. Excitement level 100 to be here.
Absolutely floored with energy right now.
The confetti is falling.
Confetti everywhere.
From the sky.
Everywhere.
Here we go.
I love it. There's our intro.
There's our intro.
What is going on, everybody? Leo here, your host of the Building Bellingham podcast, and I'm in the studio. It's a nice gray day, and I'm here with Kelsey Kurtis, none other than Kelsey Kurtis, the branding queen of Bellingham. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I love the fact that I get to do a local podcast and in-person podcast because we are all tired of Zooms. So I love that I'm here in studio with you.
I'd love for Kelsey for you to just explain a little bit more about what you do, this whole concept of branding authentically and connecting through relationships.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Yes. So I'm a branding educator, a lifestyle branding photographer, and I wrote a book called The Connection Method, which is all about teaching others how to connect with themselves first so that they can connect with others. Because we live in a world right now where we have moved so far away from traditional branding of I can hide behind perfection and a logo and design. People want to know about the people behind the brand. They want to know who's behind the logo, who they're buying from. And people want to connect to people, not with a logo. And so the connection method and connection-based branding is all about bringing that humanity back to business. I always say the truest form of connection comes from when others can see themselves in you. But if you don't know who you are, it's going to be real hard for others to genuinely connect with you and for you to make an impact in your community, in your business, and beyond.
Wow, you just blew my mind. But that, it's true though. I mean, if you think about it from the perspective of being a consumer, which we all are in so many ways, we gravitate towards those things that we align with, right?
Yes.
And when something is very grounded, a brand is grounded, a person is grounded, who's behind that, you want to buy from that. You don't versus maybe a bigger company, correct?
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the thing is that whether you are a business or whether you're a leader in business, in a career, people want to know your story. That's what people connect with. And especially now in this time with, the pandemic, everyone is looking for a deeper level of connection. And that's what I'm really trying to help entrepreneurs and leaders do is learn how to connect with yourself, connect with others so that you can not only build a business, but also impact. What people truly want is to feel seen, feel heard, and feel like they matter. And if you can genuinely connect with people and allow them to feel seen and heard, that's when impact beyond just what you're selling can really start to take shape.
What inspired you to get into the world of writing?
So I will tell you, it was not on the plan to write a book at all. My journey with entrepreneurship started very early with my grandfather at 11 years old. And I considered him a master entrepreneur. He owned a florist company in the glory days of Hollywood in downtown LA. He owned a sailboat brokerage company with his brothers in Newport Beach, California. But his whole tactic behind building a successful business was relationships. And that's what he taught me when we started our first business together, which was Kelsey's Jewelry. We imported silver jewelry from Mexico. We went into boutiques not leading with our product. We led with relationships and getting to know other people. And that's all I've known in business. And so as my life and businesses and careers and everything has grown and blossomed over time, that's always been in the back of my mind. And so when almost 12 years ago, when I started my photography business, I was taking a completely different approach and really wanting to connect with others more than just what I'm delivering, the photos or the experience. It was really, who are you? How can I support you? All of those experiences really helped me come to this place of realizing that there was no tool to help others know how to connect. And especially, being a lifestyle branding photographer, I was asking entrepreneurs, okay, so who are we, going to be sharing these photos with? What is your brand message? And most people didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's when the light bulb kind of kicked in of like, hey, maybe I have something different to share. And the way the book came about actually was quite happenstance. I was speaking at a women's networking event, and this woman came up to me afterwards and said, hey, I like what you're talking about, how you kind of do things differently with building a business, relationship based. That's what I want to do. Can you help me do that with my business? And naively, I'm like, sure. Like, let me just write like a 10-page workbook. We'll work through it. And then that'll be that. I sat down on my computer, and 2 weeks later, I had 200 pages of the first draft of the connection method. And it was truly it just came out of me because it's true. Like, what you can write. And what was so crazy was that woman, she was actually building an author coaching business. And so
that's interesting.
Yeah. So that was the business that I was helping her brand. And in the end, she was like, Kelsey, there's so much more here that we can do with that. And so then she took the reins of leadership and helped me develop the book and everything. So that was my very long-winded story of where I started as an 11-year-old entrepreneur to here we are now. Yep. But that's really how I got here.
Beautiful how when you lead with value and you give more in value than you take in payment, depends on, any entrepreneurial endeavor, and a lot of the time it just unfolds into this thing where the person you helped helps you, and you grow so much faster and bigger. And
yes, it's all about leading with value for sure. And seeing that you're here to serve, not just be a transaction.
So I want to take a step back. Many families operate differently. We have this whole concept of nature and nurture, and we don't need to get into the nitty gritty of science and nature and nurture. What I'm really fascinated of is you're clearly like a lightning bolt. You came onto this planet, she's here. But then there was this fostering from your grandfather, it sounds like, of, hey, let's go take risks. Let's go try things. Tell me a little bit more about your family life growing up. Who is inspiring you? Who is encouraging you? Who's saying, who are the naysayers? And how did you get that crash course entrepreneurship degree as an 11-year-old?
I'm really glad that you asked about this because I tell the story of my grandfather a lot, and I don't actually get to expand more than just that business. My childhood was not rainbows and sunshine at all. I grew up in a very verbally abusive family from my father. And it was not like I said, rainbows and sunshine. And I had to learn how to set boundaries for myself. My mom was so inspiring because she saw the creativity that I had and always pushed that, saying, Kelsey, you're so creative, and putting me in all these different things and never squashing my creative ideas and visions because I've never been one to fit into the box at all. I was always the one who went against the status quo, against the grain. And so I would say that between, yes, the leadership and mentorship that my grandfather shared with me, the encouragement of my mother of being a creative person and fostering that, plus the learning boundaries and not taking responsibility of other people's emotions was a really, really important lesson for me to learn. I knew I was destined for something bigger. Since I was 13, I've had a vision of my life where I'm at now and the trajectory where I'm going. I've known that I've had a bigger purpose. And so that was the thing that has always kept me going forward, even in the super, super hard times. When you can find your vision, find your purpose, that's the one thing that can carry you through that. And so, yeah, it was kind of a mix of all of those things and a lot of self-reliance for sure, and self-belief, like knowing that I was where I was supposed to be and where I was going was what really pushed me through.
While everybody else your age is thinking about other stuff, you're thinking about entrepreneurship. How do you deal with that when your peers are thinking about everything besides what you're thinking about? Does it feel like it's the wrong thing to do? Or do you have this like internal compass that is in a direction? I know where I'm going.
It was never not on the table for me. It was always the goal. I did not have friends probably until I was in my mid 20s because I was always the weird one. I was always the one who was the outcast or the sympathy invite to a friend's party. I just knew that that felt right, was just to be me, even though at a young age nobody appreciated that. But now as an adult, being weird is a thing they celebrate. So I didn't know anything else other than being me. And I'm a very visual person. And since I was 13 years old, I had a vision of myself at 30 and 40 years old. And I know that's kind of weird, but again, I'm the weird one. And that's always been my driving compass. I mean, the thing is that for me, that happened at a young age. For others, it might happen at different stages of life, maybe in your 20s, maybe your 30s, 40s, 50s. But if you don't ask those questions and investigate yourself into yourself and connect with yourself to find out what that passion is, then you're not only doing yourself a disservice, but you're doing a disservice to your community as well, because you're here for a reason. You're here to impact your community, whether that is small or global. And so whatever that calling is, at whatever age it hits you, you need to listen to it. And I'm going to tell you that when it hits, it's terrifying and you're not going to know how to get there, but you just keep doing those baby steps, one foot in front of the other. Listening to your gut is going to get you way, way farther than you could ever imagine.
You started at an early age. You're very clear. You are just like I am. Okay, I'm very strange in this way, or this way.
Yes.
This is just how I am. I'm just gonna accentuate this because this is actually a strength. I think it's a strength. You think it's a strength. Cool.
Yes.
You get to this point where you're like, you know what? I've been doing this entrepreneurship journey for a while. And you say, I'm a very visual person. And you jump into photography. Why photography? What about capturing a moment captured you as a business owner?
Again, photography was not really ever on the plan. I really did pay my dues after college. I worked in television, and then I realized television was not my thing at all. My goal was to be the next Oprah Winfrey. And then I worked in television. I'm like, oh girl, no, this is not for you. And so I've paid my dues in the corporate world and different jobs. And then I was working as a personal assistant for someone in Seattle, and they were moving, life was changing. And I was like, girl, what do you want? My head, my heart, and my intuition all aligned for the first time ever and said, you need to become a professional photographer, even though I did not own a camera. I did not know how to operate that camera once I got it. And I didn't know how to run a creative business, but my gut has never been wrong. And so the next day I went out and bought a camera and got to work. I had always had an interest in photography. I'd always loved playing dress up, looking at photographs, seeing the emotions that can come from that. I'm not a traditional artist. Like, my stick figures are terrifying and I can't, like, that's not my jam, but I'm so creative and so visual. Photography just seemed to be a really great fit. And I love people and I love telling stories. And again, it comes back to my upbringing with my grandfather of it's about relationships, and photography allows you to build these relationships through the lens, but also behind the lens during a photo shoot. With the shoots that I'm on, I literally see women's confidence bursting, going up and up and up after we take photos with each other, because I'm able to capture who they are and pose their bodies and make them feel good about themselves and validate their existence here. And that's powerful. That's a powerful medium. I didn't know all of that when I got started, but I knew that it was a way for me to connect with others and allow this creative and visual talent I have to be an outlet. And so it wasn't part of the plan, but I went with my gut, and it's been an incredible journey thus far.
Having somewhat of a base knowledge of formal education is helpful.
Yes.
But then there's this other side, this intuition. There's this side that is all, you talk about the gut. I know about the gut.
Yes.
The gut gets you
so far.
Formal education versus street smarts. What's your perspective on education?
So it's interesting because I feel like I'm kind of a 50-50, both book smart and street smart. I have a degree in communications. I went to college. I did that thing, which works for some. And if you need to do certain things, it's, you need that. In the age where we're at right now, we are in the information age, and you can literally learn how to do anything online. I learned photography from YouTube University. I think that you need to find your calling on what you want to do and find that path, and not someone else's expectation of you of, well, you need to go to college because that's what you're supposed to do. The supposed to do's will get you blocked from your purpose instantly. You need to find what you need to do in order to get you to your purpose and to create that impact. I can't say, oh no, college is obsolete, because it isn't for some, but I feel like there's so much information and mentorship out there that you can build an incredible life and an incredible business and be incredibly smart and give so much back to your community without college. I say follow what your gut says of, okay, maybe I do need a formal education. Maybe I need to hone my skills in these certain areas to help me get to my end goal. But in the end, it's what you need to do, not what the world thinks you should do.
And this is like this internal compass that if you continue to hone and educate on who you are, it becomes clear and easier, right? It's
Yes.
just like, no, this doesn't align with me. This doesn't align with me. I got to keep following. There's this interesting niche that you're in. You solved a problem. It's not just about photography and social media. That's an avenue. That's a vehicle to help express this. But what problem did you see? What problem that was out there that you aimed to solve?
The problem I saw was this fear of connecting and showing up as themselves and not having a clear direction for who they are, what they value, and what people can expect from them. I was one of the very first lifestyle branding photographers in the country. Like, it was not a thing when I started it. I said goodbye to a very lucrative wedding photography business, but my heart was telling me that you love working with entrepreneurs and people need to see them and people need to hear their stories. And that's what people connect with. And so I'm like, I'm going to start this genre. I don't know what's going to happen, but once I did, and a few people started with me, the impact was huge. Their businesses started growing. People were paying attention. They were becoming bigger names. It was incredible to see the transformation when they started putting themselves out there as their brand, not hiding behind their brokerage, not hiding behind a logo, but as them, as people. And it was great too, because there's a lack of confidence that a lot of us entrepreneurs have, because it is a very lonely thing to be in as an entrepreneur sometimes. And we are searching for validation. And there's a really easy way to get validated when you know who you are and you've defined that. You can validate yourself by knowing, this is who I am. This is what I value. This is what people can expect from me. This is my brand. Take it or leave it, sunshine. This is me. And there's some power in that. But if you don't know what that is or who you are, you're just going to be lost and you're going to lose business. You're going to lose impact because you're just floating on the surface and not reaching any depth of impact. And so that's what I saw in our community and beyond, was this disconnection from themselves. And so that's where the connection method and helping others to create a connection-based brand for their business, so that we can define an intentionality for who they are, an intentionality for marketing themselves. Instead of throwing spaghetti at the wall on social media to see what sticks, we actually know why they're posting this, what words they're going to be using, what colors they're going to show up as, what verbiage they're going to use. Everything creates consistency when you develop this connection-based brand. And so that was the biggest problem, was not knowing who they were and having a clear direction, which just led them in a whole brain tornado. So I've really been able to help people clarify that brain tornado and get intentional and know why and how and what, and stand confidently in who they are and what they do.
And the people that don't like that can go this way.
They can get to Steppin' by Felicia today. Yeah. And it's so great because it provides that validation piece, because a lot of times when you don't know who you are, you're in a constant cycle of, what are people going to think of me? But when you have a connection-based brand, you define the narrative. You tell others how they speak about you. You tell others how they should see you and perceive you. And so it gives you the power back from the other people who might be naysayers. It gives you the power back from the what ifs, or comparison monster, as I call it, of like, oh, what should I do? And the insecurity. So it really gives you that power to be you and not feel bad about saying bye to the people who aren't serving you and hello to the ones who are.
I love it. It's a two-way street.
Yeah.
And that's okay to have a two-way street of service, right? And value.
Exactly. And one of the things I talk about in the connection method, and not only talk about, but actually give you the tools to create, is what I call your repel and attract list. first. It's actually defining characteristics of not only clients, but your ideal community, the people you want to serve, be served by, the ones who support you in your personal life, the characteristics of the people you want to repel from your circle as well as attract. I think that in traditional branding and marketing, there has been a huge disservice of leading with, you got to define your demographic and your ideal client avatar. There is some value in that, but I don't think we need to lead with that. If she doesn't value you and doesn't respect your time, is she really your ideal client? No. And so it's really important to flip the script and look at it in a broader spectrum of, these are the characteristics that I want to attract to my circle. And also, because we have to look at both sides of the coin, repel. And so it makes it really, really simple to evaluate when someone comes into your life and you get a weird feeling about them. Instead of just saying yes to say yes, you can go, oh, wait a minute, that person had really bad energy and were negative and were egotistical. And maybe those are things on your repel list. And it might help you go, you know what? I probably am not the best person to serve them. And that gives you back so much energy. Exactly. It gives you so much energy. It's freeing, and it gives you permission, and it gives you this tangible list, because it takes you out of the emotional and turns it into something tangible that you can quantify and help you make decisions and validate.
I love it. Start looking internally.
Yep.
Make your checklist on how to repel.
Yep.
What to
And attract. Exactly.
Yep, both
yeah.
important.
And start there. Exactly.
One thing that fascinates me about this, I'm just a young Padawan in this whole world of marketing. So you're looking for a client who, like, what for you, you don't want to oversell them. You don't want to undersell them as far as how you help them project themselves.
Yeah.
What is that balance of powerful empowerment, education, them in their best self, but not overshooting them to the point where someone meets with them and says, this is not the expectation that I had of this person?
One of the things that I do with my clients before a photo shoot is what I call a branding audit. And it pulls questions directly from the connection method. That way we have a clear understanding for who they are. What are their branding words? Who is their ideal community? What is their repel and attract list? And it all comes from who they are naturally, not who they want to be. Tyra Banks has a great quote, and it says, your brand should not require a lot of housekeeping. And that's what I've based everything that I do. Branding audits, the book, my interactions with people, is we're basing a brand based on who you are now, who you are naturally, not who you want to be. If you want to do a photo shoot and create a brand on somebody that is not you, I am not the person to help you, because I'm going to break down that real quick.
I love it.
Real quick.
I love it.
And so the only feedback I've gotten has been, you've helped empower me to be myself so that others can connect with me. And that's what we want. If you want something fake, I am not the person for you. One common thing in the photography world that we get, you'd be surprised how many emails we get as photographers of dudes wanting to be photographed with Ferraris that are not theirs for their dating profiles.
By the way, can you photograph me next to my Ferrari?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
cool,
totally.
Yeah, I've got two.
Yeah,
By the way, everybody, I have two Ferraris.
And it's crazy that there's this world of people who want to fake their life. And us as photographers, we get asked to do that all the time. And I just personally have a line where I'm like, never. My core branding word is real. And so if you go on that line of, I just want to put a facade out, I am not your person at all.
Yeah. I love it. So that line has been clearly defined internally first, and then it's very strong.
Yes.
Therefore, you can go on and help your clients very, very firmly bounce into that wall and go, okay, here's the wall. The Ferraris are over there.
Yes.
Hire that person. The Ferrari photography.
Yeah. One of my non-negotiables, one of my attract listers, is that you have to have good energy. I can feel people's energy. I can feel authenticity, inauthenticity a mile away. And so that's the thing, is that you have to define who you are, what you value, what people can expect from you first before you start promoting yourself, before you start doing any marketing at all for yourself. That's the thing, is majority of people, when they start a business, they go right to the pretty. They go to the social media, they put the logo up, they put the website up. But then when the dust settles, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so overwhelmed. I have so many options. There's so many other people doing it. What do I post? What do I do? And again, the comparison monster comes in and be like, well, Betty's doing this and Johnny's doing this. What should I do? And there's this huge inconsistency that is created from that. That's why most people, when they reach that point, they come back to me and go, what am I missing? I'm like, hey, you forgot the first step. You need to define your brand foundation. We need to know who you are, what you value, what people can expect. That way we know why your colors are that way, why your logo looks that way, and bring that intention back to your business. So yes, it is the first step in the whole marketing strategy. And first step is branding. Second is creating imagery. And third is releasing that message, brand message out to the world.
Can we dissect your brain for a minute?
Sure.
I mean, not physically in the office right now. I'm not
Scalpel,
qualified.
doctor. Scalpel.
I'm not qualified. I'm not qualified. I'm really curious, you out there as a consumer. So we're talking about branding and you seeing other brands out there. What do you look at, and what are the points you look at for connection? How do you judge if someone's doing it well for you?
Sure.
Or not well?
Ooh, I like this question. This is the first time I've been asked that. Bravo, Leo. Bravo. All right. So I would say the first one is value, because a lot of times when people go on social media and start marketing themselves as a personal brand, they open the trench coat and go, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. It's all about me. Or they go the other route of it's all business. It's all business. Like realtors are notorious for just posting list, sold,
penned,
list. And if I scroll up past your name, I'm not going to know who you are. It's going to just look duplicated. And so that's the first thing I look at is what can you teach me? What can you give me? What value are you going to add to my life? Is it educational? Is it emotional? What value are going to add to my life? The second thing is I needed to see a photo of you. I need to know who you are. What do you look at?
Are you a rhinoceros?
Are you a
banana?
rhinoceros? What do
Are
you
you a
look
giraffe?
at?
What are you?
What are you? Because again, I'm a visual person. And so while I'm reading your caption or looking at things, who are you? I want to envision you. One of the things I tell people who are afraid of putting themselves out there visually is, when you put yourself out there, a lot of people think that it's narcissism, that it's selfish, that you're going, look at me, look how great I am. But putting yourself out there is a selfless act, because you're saying, I want to connect with you. I'm ready to share who I am so that you feel seen. And that's one way, is to put pictures of you out there. It also helps people know what to expect, so I would say number 3 is squashing the fear of the unknown. The biggest fear people have is the fear of the unknown, especially with realtors, right? Like, are you going to be a sleazy dude? Are you going to be a salesy dude? Are you going to be my best friend?
Are you going to drive 2 Ferraris at once?
Are you going to drive 2 Ferraris at once? So helping me know what to expect. What type of personality do you have? What type of values do you have? What's your story? That's one of the things I really look at. Other things, your personality also, again, so it's kind of all linked into what to expect. Personality, are we going to vibe well? What is your energy? Also, personal aspects of what do you like to do on the weekends? I want to find these connection pieces, whether it is a huge business or a small business. It's pulling those personal items and looping them through your business message and brand message is what's going to hit home. One of the things I tell people about social media, in order to have a balanced social media, you need to do the third rule. A third of the time post something educational, a third of the time post something emotional, and a third of the time post something business. Now, keep in mind, these are not mutually exclusive, but it's a really good way to have a balanced social media presence that can empower you to convey your brand message in a balanced way. So it's not all business and not all you, but still providing value.
Hey, it's Leo. We'll be back to the interview in a moment. But if you're new to the Building Bellingham podcast, I wanted to say hello. I'm a local real estate agent with the Cohen Group Northwest, powered by the Moliat Group Realtors. We do real estate differently, and this community podcast is part of it. Check us out by searching Cohen Group Northwest on your favorite social media platform, and thank you for listening. Part of being a business owner is also, like you said, it's this analysis. You're also a consumer. You have to be a consumer.
Yes.
Right. We have to do it in order to understand who our potential clientele are.
Yes.
Who's doing it well, who's not doing it well. But I love that you've stepped this out for people to say, look, don't post all these just sold. There's a proof production. People need to know you're busy.
Exactly. That falls in the business category. Yeah. I always say, like, post business because mama got to make some money. Okay.
You're a supportive business that supports other people to empower them to project themselves in the best light. But you're also a business yourself.
Yeah.
How do you create this brand? Because when I see your photos, I know it's you. When I see a realtor or another business owner post a photo, I'm like, that's definitely Kelsey. And we've never met before.
Yeah.
And that's powerful.
Yep.
How do you do that without stamping a logo on it? How do you create something that's so quality that people know it's you without a logo being involved?
first, not being afraid to put yourself out there so that people know, because you can't hide behind a rock. You have to show people. So that's honestly the biggest thing is showing people who you're working with, showing people your work, being proud of it and not ashamed of it. That's one of the things I don't understand why someone creates something amazing, but they don't show it. So I show it. I also have a very intensive process to get people ready for their photo shoot, from defining their brand, but also what colors are you going to wear? What locations are going to communicate your brand story? And so all of these things that I do create consistency. And I always say consistency breeds confidence. And so people are going to become more confident in my clients as well as me, because they're seeing that my system is my system and this is what you can expect from me. So again, it's just creating that consistency and putting yourself out there, because you're serving others when you do that and becoming that visual representation of what you do.
You see people that are prepared.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like on the surface, they are just super on top of it all the time. And I would say that if you're talking to my team, they know that I'm not super organized.
Samesies.
But
my assistant's laughing right now in studio. She's like, well, let me tell you about RKKTs. It's random Kelsey Kurtis thoughts that I text her all the time.
Well, how important is team? I mean, how important is surrounding yourself with the right people as a business owner?
Oh my goodness. Let's see. Can we have 10 more hours on the clock, Tiffany? Thank you. Thank you. Here's the thing. I tell people you need to define your ideal community, and that includes 4 groups: your ideal client, your ideal leadership, your ideal support crew, which is like your friends and family and people who aren't really connected directly to your business, and your ideal team, the people who align with your values, the people who see the bigger vision in what you're doing. When I hire my team and when I bring people on, my conversation is, I'm not hiring you as an employee. I'm hiring you as a partner in building this brand, this mission, this vision. And if you're just here for a paycheck, you're not in the right place, because we're here to create impact. And that's a non-negotiable if you want to work in this team. And that really attracts the right people. The greatest advice I have ever been given is don't be afraid to ask for and receive help, because we can't do it all.
You hear
we
that,
can't.
entrepreneurs?
Ask
for help.
Yes.
Ask for help.
Ask for help. And I'm going to tell you, it's terrifying, especially bringing in someone like an assistant or what have you, bringing them into your circle. There's a level of trust and loyalty and understanding. But if you know who you are, if you know your values, you are going to know and attract the right people to support you who share those values. If you don't know who you are, you can't express what you need. And so team is so incredibly valuable, whether it is one person or 100 people. They all need to buy into your brand message and who you are, what you're trying to do. I always like to use the example of Walt Disney. He started off just as a personal brand, just as a visionary, but yet everyone who has worked with the Disney company, they buy into the Disney brand, the Disney message. They want to create this idea of innovation and imagination. And that's what everybody needs to do in their own brand, whether, again, if that's small or big. So team is the only way to leverage your business to the next level. If you want to play small, do it on your own, and it will be a slow and painful death. But if you want to thrive and grow and impact others, then bring on a team who share your values and share your brand vision.
For somebody that's very clear on what they want.
Yes.
You know exactly who you are, and there's a huge sense of ownership as a business owner. You like the first X amount of time, you are struggling it out. You're figuring it out. You're doing all this. You're bookkeeping. You're doing all of these different things. You're setting your schedule. Maybe there's one thing or two things that you excel at, and you maybe hit a point where maybe you're starting to crash and burn, or you're burning out, whatever it is. What was that moment like for you? You had a moment. Everyone has a moment. You wouldn't have a team if you didn't have that moment, right?
Yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah. I think that it was a whole bunch of little things that just came to an exploding point when I had like 300 emails in my inbox. And I was like, I hate emails. And
I'll make sure to send you an email after this.
Please do.
It'll be very dry. Yeah.
But I mean, emails are the thing that I do not do well. And so I had been told for years from my business mentor, Heather Simpson. She leads me. She's been on your show. She's amazing.
She's rad.
She is amazing. Shout out Heather Simpson. She's been telling me for years, girl, get an assistant. And it was looking at that number on my inbox and realizing that I had my book launch coming out. I had just brought in, a graphic design team to help me with my book. And I was like, oh, I didn't have to do that on my own. So that kind of got my light bulb kicking. And then I was so ready for help, but I was afraid because I'm like, what unicorn is out there who can buy into my message and who can help me and do all these things? And I put that out there, and literally Madeline showed up and saved the day. But it was truly that moment of looking at all those emails and going, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this on my own. For what I want to do and the scalability of the impact that I want to make, it's time to bring in help. And I had to have a very heart-to-heart, deep heart-to-heart conversation with myself and be like, girl, suck it up. You need help. Put out what you need, the specifics, and that person will show up. And they did.
So there's this moment where the baton has to get passed.
Yes.
You're getting prepared for it.
Mm-hmm.
You're thinking about it. You're looking at 300 emails and going, I need to burn my computer. I need to throw this off a cliff. Maybe the emails will go away if I look away. Maybe they'll go away.
Yeah. Maybe I just need to move to a cabin in the middle of the desert.
I think the moment there's this build up to it where you're like, I can't do it like this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the actual baton pass where you're like kind of holding on to it and you're like, hey, well, hold on a second. Like, I'm trusting you to take this over. What was that transition period like for you, giving the baton up and then letting it go and then watching your life change?
Yeah. It was finding someone who matched my values and then taking it slow and being completely truthful and creating a space for full transparency of, if this isn't working, if this is working, let me know. I'll let you know. And also I was fully transparent saying, I've never done this before. I didn't go into the conversation saying, oh my gosh, I've had 100 assistants. I know exactly what I need. No, I came into it very humble and saying, girl, I don't know what to do in this. This is the first time I've had help in this capacity. We're on this together. And so that transparency and honesty was vital. And we continually communicate and have checkpoints. But I would say, honestly, bringing in the right people made the transition a lot less painful. And I have people who I can clearly communicate with and be honest with. And so that is the biggest point, is to have that trust and open dialogue with your team.
You ready for the most boring 60 minutes follow up here?
I am ready now.
How do you identify talent and people that align with your vision and values?
I will have to say there is a checklist of I hate to go back to it, but it's my gut. Honestly, it was crazy how I decided to put myself out there and I need help. I put an Instagram story out there. I was overwhelmed. I just saw all of those emails and I was like, I put a picture of myself up there with words saying, I need an assistant. I need help. I don't know if I literally said this unicorn of a person exists, but this is my expectation. And I listed out exactly what I needed. Loyal, trustworthy. On my Instagram story.
Wow.
And I listed out exactly the characteristics of what I needed. And I had over 100 people respond saying they would love to be my assistant. And I feel like a lot of them probably were like, oh, Kelsey's fun. It would be fun to work with her versus like I am fun, but I also know how to work. And it's a task load. And then I had a handful of people who seemed to fit the bill. And then, my assistant came up and she kept persisting and I wasn't ready to hire someone yet. It was just putting it out into the world. I had my book launch, all these different things, but she kept persisting. She kept communicating. She kept reaching out. She kept sending me funny memes as an Instagram follower and someone I built an online relationship with. And then finally, when I was ready, I'm like, this person has really shown me that she does take initiative, which was my top quality of taking initiative. I'm not here to hold your hand. And she did. And so I said, hey, let's have a conversation. And from that moment of our first conversation, I knew it was a great fit just from my gut and her actions leading up to that.
So she pursued you because of what you put out into the universe.
Exactly. Right. Because I've created this brand culture of who I am, what I value, what people can expect. People know who I am because I put myself out there. It's not going to be some mystery of oh, I'm going to come on Kelsey's team. What is that going to be like? They know who I am. And that was a really powerful way to bring incredible people to my doorstep.
I love it. So let me ask you this: our businesses have a lot in common in the way that we grow. There's this classic business model of, it's kind of like a pyramid. It's like, hey, homeboy or homegirl at the top is the CEO, makes all this money, whatever, and then everybody else is kind of shoveling, for lack of a better term.
Yep.
Tell me, how is this business model just flipping the switch on how business should be done?
I think that it is, again, it's bringing humanity back to business. It's looking at people as not as employees, but as a member of the team to help build that and share that brand and grow that brand message. It's creating a space where people have buy-in into something bigger than just selling product. It's creating a culture of appreciation and grace for understanding that humans are humans, and sometimes we need some time. Sometimes we're ready to rock and roll. Sometimes we need that rest. I think that we're at this point in time, especially with COVID switching so much in our culture and escalating this, of realizing that humans are not a 9 to 5 clock in, clock out anymore. We want that connection. We want to be a part of something bigger, be a part of impact. I think that building a brand based on that, of bringing humanity back to business, will be the ticket to that as business is changing and shifting. And if you've been in business for decades and decades and you just say, well, this is the only way we've done things, we're not going to change anything, you will get eaten alive and forgotten. And so you have to grow and change, and you have to realize that vulnerability and transparency and being real with your community in both directions, up and down, is the key to creating more balance versus head honcho, king and queen of all. It's creating more of a community of your brand and your business.
So would you say that it's okay to, want to have a profitable business at the same time as having grace?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. There's going to be levels of grace. I'm not saying that you need to be a pushover. You need to still have the reins of your business and still be strong in that and know your boundaries. Boundaries are huge, but there is going to be an area of grace within those boundaries and expectations. So absolutely, everyone should set the goal for whatever profitability or impact they want to make, and know what those thresholds of grace are. So it's all about just defining what you want, what you expect, all of that. So that way you're transparent with people so they know where, what area they have to move and grow.
Let's talk about failure, our friend failure, because you can't have success without failure. And that is like the most Tony Robbins thing I've ever said in my entire life, but it's out there now.
You said it.
Wow,
you said it.
I must have heard Tony Robbins speak at some point. Anyways, the point is, I think so much of success, and success is a byproduct of a lot of failures, right? Would you agree with that?
Yeah. We'll see.
All right. Well, tell me how you agree and disagree with that.
So here's the thing. I think that the whole black and white concept of success and failure is outdated. I feel like we've moved on from that, because back in the day, there was a really clear methodology to measure success, right? Now, success looks like so many different things.
It's not just Ferraris.
And so I think what the flip side of success is not actually failure, because, a lot of us, including myself, we don't see failure as failure, but as a learning experience of what not to do, and it's like, I've not been quote unquote successful in every business or every career. I've been divorced. Like, I have quote unquote failed, but I've learned so much and I've grown from that, and it's gotten me here. So I don't consider that a failure. I think that the flip side of success is mindset. And the biggest mindset monster that we're facing today is not failure. It's the I'm not good enough monster. It's the comparison monster. That's the thing that's blocking us from success. That's the thing that's blocking us from who we want to be and who we need to be, is the I'm not good enough narrative. There's so many voices out there now that are challenging us and challenging our purpose and challenging who we are just at a heart's level, that we're questioning everything. So it's almost like we are quote unquote failing before we even start, because our mindset is blocking us from progression. So I don't like thinking of it in that black and white way of success and failure. I think of define where you want to go goal wise, because success is not a destination. Like there's no end point of like, oh, hey, Judy, I'm successful now. There's always growth to be had. And I feel like it all comes back down to mindset and having a healthy mindset and fighting the comparison monster and fighting the I'm not good enough monster and the imposter syndrome, because that is the thing that is blocking us from going forward, not failure. Yeah, if you have a failure, You're going to have a failure, but how you deal with it in your mindset is what's going to create that trajectory.
Mic drop. Podcast is over. Okay, Mike, pick back up. We're back on. Beautiful. Love it. So much of what you do has to do with social media. And I think we can both agree that social media is this really powerful tool.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Powerful tool, meaning it can be used for good and it can be used for bad.
Absolutely.
And the FOMO, the
Mm-hmm.
I'm not good enough,
Yep.
the comparison monster,
Yep.
all of that is the negative side of that tool.
Absolutely.
How do you help people use that tool in a powerful, positive way that doesn't let them go that direction?
Yeah, you're right. Social media is both an evil and a blessing. And like I've created so much good from it that the nasty side doesn't show up too much, but it does show up in those quiet moments. And so one of the first things that I did on my entrepreneur journey, especially with photography, was define my branding words. These words that I've talked about basically this whole podcast of who you are, what you value, what people can expect from you. My branding words are real, education, inspiration, empower, and joy. That's what you can expect from me.
You didn't say Ferrari.
And Ferrari. Please, no. So those are my branding words. When as my brand now, when I started my photography business, I felt the comparison monster big time. And keep in mind, this was almost 12 years ago when social media was just kind of like a little baby.
We all knew Tom.
We all knew Tom from MySpace. I fell into that of not knowing what I was doing with my photography business. I didn't know what I was doing at all. And so I felt myself going, oh, wait, should I be dark and moody? Should I be light and airy? Should I do this? Should I do that? I was not consistent at all. And so I had to have a come to Jesus moment and sit myself down and ask myself questions for who I was, what type of photographer did I want to be? How did I want to create my business? Little did I know those questions would be forming the basis of the connection method that we have now. But I created these photography branding words, which were warm, real, timeless, classic. So I had them as a suit of armor, basically, that when I went on social media and I saw another photographer post something, I could look at it and go, that's beautiful. It's not real, warm, timeless, classic. It's not me. I respect it. Move on. And if it was real, timeless, classic, warm, real, timeless, classic, I could go, what can I learn from this? It took the emotion, turn it into something tangible, this shield against the comparison monster. And so today, a lot of my clients use those branding words in the same way of planting their feet in their brand foundation and saying, this is me, take it or leave it. And it helps you navigate through that comparison and navigate through those dark times of social media. And I know for me, I don't follow a lot of photographers on Instagram. It's nothing personal. I just know I'm susceptible to the comparison monster and challenging what I should be doing and keeping that consistency. So it's protecting yourself by not following people who trigger you, as well as armoring yourself with your branding words to help you combat that and remind you who you are and validate you who you are and what you're doing. It's a yes, keep going. Yes, keep going. Don't mind them. They're great and all, but they're
Horse
not.
blinders.
Exactly.
I love
exactly.
Every day that happens is the future of yesterday, right? Like, it's just like, okay, trippy, whoa, man.
Whoa, man. That's awesome.
Man. But
I like what
I'm really interested in is you've clearly got a vision of where you want to be and where you want this industry to be in the future.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the algorithm continues to implode on itself and, feed you more of what you want. And we have to really be careful of what we do there. But
absolutely.
What do you think are some of the most important things to keep in mind as a local or not local business owner, a business owner that wants to create an authentic brand going forward in the future? The economy shifts. What's timeless?
One word: value. Value never goes out of style. Valuing others, valuing connection, sharing educational value, sharing emotional value, sharing your business value. Just keep sharing and look at the bigger picture and desire to connect with people. I share in my book about, the evergreen marketing strategy that I adhere to that will be good today as well as 10, 20, 30 years ago. And that is value. The third rule that I spoke about of education, emotional, and business. Sharing and marketing yourself through those lenses of value. So you have a balanced social media, a balanced marketing plan that will carry you from here into eternity, because in the end, people want value and people connect with value. People want to connect with you. And the best way to do that is with value and putting yourself out there.
And for those of you that are listening to this podcast, I think wanting to start a business, starting a business. I think all of us that even have businesses are still starting a business.
Yes.
We're all still kind of in this entrepreneur mindset.
Yes.
Like we're still on this journey.
Mm-hmm.
Kick yourself in the butt. Go out there and really get focused and true to who you are.
Yes.
And if you need a swift kick in the butt, I think the person sitting across the table from me would be a fantastic person to do that. Or you can also go read the Connection Method. That's a great place to start to get a swift kick in the butt from the pages.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons like why I wrote the book is I can't be everywhere to everyone. And so you can go on Amazon and buy the book, and it gives you the step-by-step process for how to create a connection-based brand. This brand that I've been talking about this entire podcast, it's called connection-based branding. The Connection Method not only gives you the raw inspiration and personal stories, but also a strategic plan and process, a method for you to create this brand and leave with a brand after reading the book. So you are empowered to go out and connect and create that consistency and clarity in your business and life.
And is it on Audible as well?
Not yet. It's
awesome. Coming soon. So if you're a auditory person like myself, it will be there soon.
Yes, we are hoping to record this winter. That's the
and
goal.
You'll be narrating it.
Of course.
I love it.
Yeah, all of the voices and accents and things will come out.
Damn it, I thought you were going to have Morgan Freeman buttery smooth. And that is our connection.
But I will maybe do in my Russian accent or maybe in my Australian accent. Might even do that. Or maybe a British accent for sure. Who knows? Who knows what I'll read? Of course.
You're very talented.
Yes, of course. You're even a high-pitched cartoon voice too. Who knows? But I'll probably read it as Kelsey.
Quick note from the editing room. None of that was edited. That was straight Kelsey.
We appreciate you investing back in your community and all that you do for local business owners and also large business owners as well that are local and regional and national. Mm-hmm. What you're doing is you're changing the industry.
That's my goal.
And how things are done. And we appreciate it because what we love here at the Building Bellingham podcast is people that flip the world upside down, crash around a little, like in a china shop, and we love it. So thanks for doing that.
And I've always been doing that.
Yeah, keep doing that.
Challenge the status quo. That's the best way to do it.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for
Kelsey
having me.
Kurtis, the branding queen. Ferrari, a connoisseur.
Kelsey Kurtis just launched her new book, The Connection Method. Create an impactful brand through the power of connection. Even if you're not a business owner yourself, this book outlines building a personal brand that inspires confidence in yourself and what you have to offer. So you're free to align with the people you align with and repel those you repel. Even if you're not a business owner yourself, this book outlines building a personal brand that inspires confidence in yourself and what you have to offer. So you're free to align with the people that you align with. Grab a copy on Amazon or learn more at kelseykurtis.com/The Connection Method. Be sure to follow Kelsey on Instagram at Kelsey M. Kurtis. And when you're there, check out her recent Branding Colors series. You'll be glad you did. Thank you again for listening to the Building Bellingham podcast. Building Bellingham is a community podcast exploring leadership, challenges, failure, and mindset with entrepreneurs right here in Whatcom County, Washington. You can catch recorded episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any of your favorite podcast streaming platforms. Be the first to hear about upcoming guests on the Building Bellingham Facebook and Instagram pages, as well as the Building Bellingham YouTube channel. This episode was produced and edited by Tiffany Holden. Our videography is done by Cooper Hansley. Social media and community support is by Taylor Beal. To learn more about the team behind the podcast, check out our website at www.livebellinghamnow.com or search Cohen Group NW on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, or LinkedIn. From the whole Building Bellingham podcast team, thank you for listening.